Jazz and I'm from BSED Filipino 2A.
Today, I will going to present to you my topic on ED.7, the Unit 3, Lesson 3, three main elements of information processing.
Information processing is a theory of learning that explains how stimuli that enter our memory systems are selected and organized for storage and retrieve from memory. Information processing is a web tool or a hyperlink.
Information processing is the cognitive process wherein an individual receives, analyzes, interprets, and stores information from their environment.
There are three main elements of information processing. The first one is the sensory memory, the second one is the short-term memory, and the third one is the long-term memory. Sensory memory is the store that briefly holds incoming stimuli in the environment until they can be processed, registered according to Gestalt-test principles. Lets in only those things which we can see, hear, taste, smell, and or. This was our five senses. Example using one of our five senses, like hearing, when you hear a song and it ends and you remember the melody of the music. Memory to short-term memory, a temporary storage that holds information as a person processes it. Working memory is where we make conscious decisions about how to link in new information from the environment to our existing knowledge. Cognitive load. Cognitive load refers to the amount of mental imposition on working memory. How to reduce cognitive load? By chunking, dual processing, and automatic. It means our working memory has limited capacity, meaning we can only process a small amount of information at a time. Example, trying to solve a complex math problem while learning the underlying concept for the first time, which puts a high cognitive load on your brain as you process new information and apply it to solve the problem. Chunking, the process of mentally combining separate into larger, more meaningful units. This can be your bank account number, a words with a meaningful meanings. Example is your password, house keys, and car keys. Dual processing is students learn more if verbal explanations are supplemented with visual representations. Using words to present information often impose a cognitive load greater than working memory capacity. Hence, learning is reduced. It provides an account on how thought can arise in two different ways or as a result of two different processes. Example, choosing a meal on a restaurant based on your familiarity. This was your System 1 and versus your System 2. Carefully comparing options on a menu to make a healthy choice. Automaticity is a task automatic performance of mental operations with little awareness or conscious effort. Automaticity is the ability to do things without occupying the mind with the low-level details required, allowing it to become an automatic. Example are common activities such as walking, speaking, bicycle riding, and driving a car. Short-term memory to long-term memory. If we don't use short-term memory right away, information will be forgotten unless we actively transfer our short-term memory to long-term storage through rehearsal, encoding, and retrieval. Rehearsal, a process of repeating information over and over again, either aloud or silently through repetition. Rehearsal is when we're trying to repeat in our mind what we memorized to remember the line. Encoding, the process of representing information in long-term memory. Information can be represented either visually or verbally. There are four processing in encodation. Number one, impose order and connection to new information. Number two, imagery, form mental pictures of topic information. Three, elaboration is the process of the meaningfulness of information by creating additional links in existing knowledge or by adding new information. Activity put learn in the most active. Encoding is when we try to encode in our mind what we studied from the words that we learn to put in our mind not to forget. Ways to put students in activity rules. It developed lessons around examples, applications, and problems analyzed instead of memorization. Ask questions that require students to apply, to recall information, and use hands-on activities. Process of clustering related items categories that illustrate relationships more organized to make it meaningful to learn
Ways
more
of
efficiently. Organizing information. Charts and matrices useful for organizing amounts of information. Hierarchies effective when new information can be subsumed. Outlines useful for representing the organizational others models, graphs, maps, etc. Long-term memory, a permanent information store. There are true description of long-term memory, the declarative knowledge and the procedural knowledge. Declarative knowledge is the knowledge of facts, while procedural knowledge is the knowledge of how to perform tasks. Term forgetting are interference, the loss of information, and reduced interference, emphasizing the relationships between topics. Failure, inability to retrieve information to pull it from long term. Learners don't literally lose information when they forget. Instead, they can retrieve it. And meaningfulness assesses the key to retrieve. Solution in organization impose order and connection in new information by linking of water cycles to states mix. The water cycle sees water shift states between solid, liquid, and gas. Imagery form mental pictures of topics dual coding theory. Long-term memory contains two distinct memory systems, one for verbal information and one that stores image. There are Bloom's cognitive taxonomy knowledge. There are six: the evaluation, synthesis, analysis, application, comprehension, and knowledge. Elaboration is the process of increasing the meaningfulness of information by creating additional links in existing knowledge or by adding new information. Processing knowledge. The example on the picture is the diagram 1. The ice cubes put in water and it melted. Diagram 3. Diagram 4. The wet clothes are hanging on the sun and it dried. And that's all. Thank you.
I hope you learned something about my topic.